everybody, this is Anthony with you again from Biblical Truth and Reality, and welcome back to part 2 of this topic of fringes. So let's continue on point 4. How about the woman touching the supposed hem of the garment of Christ? Was Christ wearing fringes? Let's read Matthew 9:19-20. And Jesus arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of the garment. There it is. A woman came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. Let's focus on that. Notice it does not say, touch the fringes of his garment. A hem of a garment is a finishing method. The edge of a piece of cloth is folded evenly and upwardly to prevent the unfolding of the fabric. Now, it is probable that Christ may have been wearing fringes on the borders of his garment, but it is not correct to conclude that she was directly reaching for the fringes. Verse 21, For she said within herself, If I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. She says, If I might touch his garment, not his fringes. How about Matthew 14:35-36? And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Notice the text says that to be healed of disease, the people believed in only touching the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Again, it doesn't say they touch his fringes. It is possible that they could have touched them, but it doesn't say that in the text. But let's get into more detail about the story of the woman being diseased for 12 years in Luke 8:40-48. Now, just for the sake of time, basically paraphrase what's going on in these verses. Verses 40-42. A crowd of people were around Jesus and received him gladly. A man fell at his feet and begged him to come to his house. 43-44. This verse says she came behind him and touched the border of his garment. It doesn't say she touched his fringes. Then it says immediately her issue of disease stopped. 45. Jesus asks, Who touched me? He didn't ask, Who touched my fringes? 46. And Jesus said, Somebody hath touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. Again, he didn't say, Somebody has touched my fringes. Now, by virtue, it means from Webster's 1828, strength, that substance or quality of physical bodies, moral goodness, acting power. Unfortunately, we have many people who treat fringes to have some kind of a magical power to them, like it's some sort of sorcery that Jesus pulled. What? Crazy, huh? Just like they think there's something magical about this Hebrew language. They claim there's hidden treasures that cannot be gained in English. Hebrew hocus pocus. It's all nonsense and garbage. Now, did they really have to touch his fringes to be healed? If so, then how about all of these people? See these scriptures given below here. And did they all have to touch his fringes to be healed too? If not, then what difference does it make what part of his garment they touched? Whether his shoulder, or the border of his garment, or his sleeve, what difference does it make? None. Conclusion. We can see that these fringes are not commanded to be kept today. And if you do believe they are to be kept today, then you have to keep the rest of the laws mentioned in the same chapter. Otherwise, you're in deep hypocrisy. People ask the question of what laws are we supposed to keep from the Old Testament? That's simple. All of the laws connected to the Levitical priesthood, sacrifices and offerings, don't have to be kept anymore, and that's including the feast days. See the Feast Days Refutation series. So these fringes are also connected to the sacrifices and the Levitical priesthood because the context of wearing those fringes is to keep the laws mentioned before that in Numbers 15. It's not a separate commandment that God all of a sudden just tossed in the law and said, Oh, by the way, just to throw this in there, wear these fringes. Oh, but don't worry, that's by itself. You don't have to keep the rest of the commandments mentioned before in the same chapter. Do you think God is that much of an idiot? Therefore, look, just like I said about the head coverings, if somebody wants to wear the fringes as a testimony to God and toward others, that they want to keep the commandments of God that still apply today, the moral aspects of the law, 10 Commandments and dietary laws, etc., that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. If they want to wear their fringes as a testimony to be a true biblical Christian, great, go ahead. But don't push that on everybody else like it's mandatory, because in the end, you're just going to look like a double-standard hypocrite. Alright, brethren, so that's all for this topic of fringes. Easily refuted, fringes are not commanded to be kept today. So love the Lord Jesus Christ, fear God and keep His commandments. And the next video is going to be entitled Birthdays. That's going to be interesting. And read the King James Bible. Thanks.